Sunny day out there, so we're going to get started with this song. This is the day. We hope you join in and enjoy. Please rise.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm going to welcome you here on this beautiful summer Sunday morning. I'm hoping you guys are getting out and enjoying this beautiful weather. We've had those morning people out there. I'm not sure how many morning people are out there, but we've been out there and it's been really beautiful in the mornings and sitting outside and just enjoying the day to get started. So hope you're doing the same. So we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, and complete just the way we are. So we're reminded every day by all that we experience, all the support that we have, and all the love that we have in our life. So, and our theme this year is being remarkable, and how is being remarkable showing up in our lives, and how do we experience it? I want to remind you guys, if you guys have a remarkable story that you want to share with the community, please let me know so we can invite you up here. Sue Witter, one of our practitioners, and also a ministerial student, has a remarkable story that she wants to share with you. So come on up, Sue.
Thank you. So I am in ministerial school, and I encountered some challenges when I went to the all-student retreat, and Dr. Kathy Hearn, who is the dean of the San Diego College and used to be the spiritual leader for the community as a whole, said to me, "Gee, would you like to do the fear to faith process with me?" And there was a part of me that went, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, are you kidding me? No. A little of both. So we did that, and it's been an amazing process, and it's been transforming and shifting and changing. And one of the things that you do in this process is to go back to a certain point in your life where this issue that you're working on is happening. And mine, for those of you who know me well, know that I have a challenged relationship with my sister, and so it came up. And I had a call yesterday that said, "Your sister's in the hospital, at Boswell Hospital." And we thought you should know. And I thought, I think I should probably know too, because if I'm doing all this work out of not having heard from her for years, even though I haven't heard from her directly. And I called Reverend Karen to kind of work through some things, and here's the real point for me that is the remarkable thing that I've learned over the years, and that is, even when I'm challenged, even when I don't believe that I understand something or can do something or can see how something can unfold well, if I'm working with another person who I've gone to with a practitioner or minister, I can know that they know. And I can hold on to their knowledge and their truth and their belief until mine bubbles up and catches up. And so between last night and today, it caught up. And I'm so grateful for the fact that this philosophy teaches us that even when you don't know, you know, if you just let someone else hold it for you. So that's my remarkable story for the day.
Thank you, Sue. All right. So let's now start with our vision statement. So if you can join with me in saying our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is.
I'm all done now, okay? I'm all done. Well,
I think Rod's ready. All right, so hopefully we can have a little more toned down, mellow. Okay, so just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
yes, thank you.
So just take a deep healing breath as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life,
And I will wait upon
the
the
Lord,
wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
So here in this quiet place, this still place where the divine that lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as everyone, everywhere, is that power which is in charge. It is peace and joy, love, light, happiness, health, prosperity, abundance, clarity, wisdom, kindness, compassion, and so, so very much more. I know that that power is the power that's in charge here in this moment and in every movement that this service is already a perfect, beautiful, exquisite, joy-filled, wisdom-filled experience in the mind of God. Therefore, it is unfolding accordingly. And that as we move forward today, we do so with a sense of joy and expectancy, knowing that Reverend Karen's words are divinely guided and directed. She is wide open, and what she says touches each of us in our own unique and beautiful way, giving us a piece of wisdom that is ours to incorporate. That the Bradfords and their music lift our hearts as always, and that as we go forward, we do so with a connection to the divine, to each other, to this community, knowing that we are loved and supported in ways beyond imagining. So I release this out into that exquisite wisdom and synchronicity of both love and law, knowing that the universe always says yes, and so it is. Given what I just shared, when I was looking for this reading, I burst out laughing when what I opened to was this. I looked at other things, but I laughed because it's remarkable what the divine will do when you just open a book, even an electronic one. It's from Questions and Answers of the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, and it's a series of people just asking him questions and his very simple responses. And the page opened to handling problems. When I don't know how to handle a problem, how can I receive guidance? Answer: obtaining the solution to any problem through inner awareness involves doing a definite piece of scientific and spiritual work, clearing the mind of all adverse thought and being receptive to truth, with capital T, truth. Speaking the word definitely and having unfailing faith in the power of the word. Thus are we in direct communion with God, the all-good. Here is a constructive method to follow. Declare daily. Nothing but the true answer can present itself to me. I stand guard at the door of my conscious mind, knowing that nothing but that which I desire can enter. I realize that the solution to my problem is known in infinite mind, and that divine intelligence within me directs me and guides me. So just allow yourself to be open to that wisdom of the divine this day and in every day. So it is.
When my world is not okay, when there's roadblocks in my way, when I feel so all alone, these words will bring me home. Sing this with me, guys. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. Oh, oh, oh. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. Each morning when I wake, there's a choice that I can make, and everything I do and say, I'll let love lead the way. Now sing it with me. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. Oh, oh, oh. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. In everything, love will be the gift I bring.
Bradfords. What a lovely way to start a Sunday morning. Good morning. Look at all your beautiful faces. Oh, I'm so happy you're all here, and I'm so enjoying this seasonal change. It feels like it's been a little gentle. Sometimes it feels jolting to me, and I seem to be enjoying it this year. I'm so happy just to be here. Sue Witter, get out that reading and find that line that said declare every day or declare daily, something like that. I'm going to ask you to read it 2 or 3 times today, because the whole point of what I want to talk about today is about spiritual endeavor and how we can apply it to our everyday life. And I took the title of the talk and the idea for the message from a quotation I found in Dr. Holmes, the founder of this teaching. He wrote a sweet little book called Can We Talk to God? And here's the quote that I'm used for my own inspiration in creating a message. Holmes said, "We put our faith into actual practice, and thus we experience in our everyday lives the results of a conscious spiritual endeavor." So I want to talk about what that is. What is a spiritual endeavor, and how can we specifically, define it in our own lives and use it so you have an assignment that precedes the delivery of the message. And we're actually going to be looking at 2 elements, 2 different sort of ways to put into practice, to use our faith to put into practice the act of this spiritual endeavor, committing to faith in a conscious way to get us through some of the challenges life might throw. And that was such a perfect illustration. Here we are talking because our theme this year is being remarkable. And that was a pretty remarkable story. And by the way, this has just happened in the last 24 hours. So to hear you speaking this morning almost in a different language than you did last night, it's just so beautiful and uplifting for me as a minister to see transformation happen that quickly. And we will continue to support you through this beautiful journey that you have been invited. Notice that she opted in, not out. So I know, because those are our big ones, right? Those are our big ones. I always say, when you're learning to use this material, start with the little stuff. You can't jump in. You might get discouraged if you try and test it out on something big. But then we have some amazing spiritual seekers that come in and do some pretty magnificent big work right away too. So it's up to us individually. We put our faith into practice thousands of times a day without even really thinking about it. But we have faith in things that support a positive, forward-moving life, and we have faith in things that sort of hold us back. We have old beliefs and things that we haven't quite let go of yet. So the ways in which we put faith in life, you might be using an experience that is as simple as getting in your car to go to the grocery store. So I get in my car, and I know I've made a decision to go to the market, so I'm thinking about it, and now my body is in charge of activating the direction of what my mind wants to do. And so I take my car keys, I sit in my car, and I turn my key. Yes, I have an older car. I know many of you don't have ignition keys anymore. I do. So I turn the key to start the engine, and I have faith without thinking about it. I don't have to pray over it, right? I have faith that the engine's going to start because I've got this ritual and routine that allows me to get safely to the store. I have faith that when I get to that first stop sign, my brakes are going to stop the car and I'm going to be able to work my way. I have faith that as I'm sitting at the signal, that there'll be a break in traffic and I'll be able to turn right into it, or that this signal will eventually change. I have faith that I'm going to make it to the market. But we also do faith in other ways. One day, not that long ago, I was leaving church to go home, and I noticed that there was really black smoke billowing in the sky in that direction, and I live over in that direction. So at first I thought, wow, I wonder how close that is to my neighborhood. And then I made a couple turns, and I don't live too far from here. And I get a little closer, and I see that the smoke looks exactly like it could be my neighborhood. And so now I start to worry, and I can feel my heart start to thump a little bit, right? It's like, oh no. And I immediately then take that thought, and I noticed that I went to, oh my God, my dog is in the house. I hope my dog's okay. Now I've decided it's my house in the neighborhood that's going to be on fire, right? It was probably just, it wasn't even a house, I'm sure. And I don't know. And then my next thought, after I considered my sweet little dog, my next thought was my stuff, right? Then I went to this whole vision of like, oh, I've been collecting books for 70 years. Oh, I will never be able to replace all my books. Right? It's just silly. And then my next thought was like, what about all those projects that I have half written that I haven't ever actually completed? And pretty soon I noticed. Now, keep in mind, those thoughts come really quick, right? Those weren't like the way I told it. Those thoughts roll. And you know what really got my attention was when I had this thought. Why would there be a house fire? Did I do something wrong? Oh my gosh, I used the curling iron this morning and I don't remember unplugging it. Of course you don't remember unplugging it, right? It wasn't important. I know to do that. We can forget, but notice that it wasn't till I went to shame and blame that I caught myself, and then I spiritually made a stand and redirected my thinking. Because that kind of negative, fear-based thinking never creates a good vibration or a positive next thought. You have to stop that stuff and you have to redirect it. So notice there are physiological things that happen when we get scared. It's like your heart skips a beat and you start breathing more shallow, and our bodies do that on purpose, because in the old days we used to have to run from the woolly mammoth, but we don't anymore. So just notice that in that fear energy, it's very easy to imagine a worst case scenario. A spiritually dedicated person, someone who has an everyday routine, over time, after a long commitment, you begin to notice that there's something very strong and powerful that you establish with the basis of a well-practiced faith. See, that's a well-practiced faith. When you can get pretty deep, but catch it, notice it, and then use a skill to turn your thoughts around so that you can have higher thoughts. The higher thoughts, I always describe it as those are the thoughts of God, right? So there's what I can get pretty busy in my own mind, and so can you. But the higher thought is when we sort of release that and we open ourselves to a more productive way of thinking. And what I know to be true is as I correct my thinking, as I direct my mind in a new direction, then fear dissipates because love is stronger than fear. See, when we align to God, we're aligning to that energy of love. God is love. And that love, they say, is the most powerful force in the universe, and it is stronger than any emotion that you might be moving through in any given moment. So it's not wrong to be sad. It's not wrong to be scared. Realize that fear is a God-given gift. It's not even wrong to be angry. Anger can be used to help you redirect your life course and show up and make new decisions and set healthy boundaries in your life. And we can use that as a spiritual tool. So just think of those things. Know that to be conscious in and of itself is a spiritual endeavor, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about using the tools of our faith, and really that's the whole point of everything we say in every class we teach, every Sunday morning message. We have that way we repeat. Holmes says, I like to repeat it every week, there is a power for good in the universe. It's greater than I am, and I can use it. You can use it. It's there for all of us. It's never missing or limited. And so the only question is, will you use it? Will you use it in your great times of need? And if you cannot manage to turn your chaotic thinking around, then that's when we reach out to practitioners and people that we can talk to, people that, like, I liked how Sue said, you trust somebody that you know is living the truth. In the back room, she referred to a minister that preceded me, that from another church, that was always her go-to. And so when she would have things, crazy moments, those chaotic moments, she would know that maybe I can't get there right now. I think you just said this. Maybe I can't get there right now, but I believe that because that minister can, that he can support me, that his truth, and that I can rise and work my way someday maybe to be able to do it at that same level. I didn't say it as good as you did, but thank you for not correcting me. Dr. Holmes said in that opening quote then that faith, if we look at faith as a spiritual endeavor, that we then put our faith, he said, put your faith into actual practice. That's what we're talking about here. And when you do that, you have the benefit of the positive results that come from that. We cause and effect. It's a scientific formula, really. So when I looked at that word endeavor, what I saw was that endeavor means to have exerted effort. That sounds big. That sounds strong. Endeavor is to have conscientious activity that intends to accomplish something. So you know the direction you want to be going instead of whatever feels like it's a little overwhelming to you at any given time. A spiritual endeavor intentionally used for the purpose of that kind of conscientious activity, those are the ways, if we do that daily, it adds up to a greater sense of faith in spiritual matters. Would you read me right now what that said? And I'll repeat it so that the people at home can hear it too. Holmes said,
Nothing but true answers can present themselves to me.
no, I want this sentence that says, daily, declare daily.
Declare daily, nothing but the true answer can present itself to me.
Okay, because I want you to hear declare daily. Read it one more time.
Declare daily.
Declare daily.
Nothing but the true answer can present itself to me.
Nothing. Declare daily. Nothing but the true answer can present itself to me. Declare that daily, that there's a truth there. You know, sometimes I put my demand on the law. Lord, God, show me a way to see this differently than the way I'm perceiving it now, because this is not your way of seeing. I know that. And when we do that, something inside of us shifts. Once we have committed our lives to progressing spiritually, to having a desire to deepen spiritually, to be able to notice when we're having the negativity going on in our mind and to put a stop to it and redirect it. Once we do that, we come to realize how valuable spiritual practice is. In fact, we come to realize that it is essential to our overall well-being. And I have tremendous faith in the value of everyday practice. I tell you that almost every Sunday. I urge you to have a sitting practice, even if it's just for a very short time. Even if you're not a polished, skilled meditator, every one of us needs to pull out of that chaos for a period of time every day to get ourselves regrounded again. And I like to remember that started for me at one of the most hectic, chaotic times in my life. I was working full-time and going to school full-time and had 4 teenagers, and I used to drive to work, and there was this woman at a red light that caught me regularly. There was a woman sitting on her porch in her bathrobe, drinking a cup of coffee, surrounded in all this noisy traffic and the moving busyness of the world. And she looked so at peace to me, and I wanted to know that. I wanted that kind of peace in my life every day. And so I began to rearrange my schedule so that I could have what I consider to be leisurely. Notice I don't consider my spiritual practice work. It's a leisurely, quiet time where I include self-reflection and journaling, and sometimes it includes a morning walk or stretching. I have a routine that I do not like to violate, and when I do, I don't show up as well grounded as I would on an ordinary day, because sometimes our schedule changes for us, right? So there was something in me at that time in my life, and I really think it had something to do with the chaoticness and how hard it was to keep up with all of that, that caused me to notice. I also was in between religious experiences. I had left fundamental religion. I'd been a fundamental Christian for quite a while, and I had not found a new church. I seemed to be seeking. It was a time of deep questioning, and I believe when life throws something at us, or or even if you get bored, sometimes people notice they get bored. Those are the opportunities to notice there's a divine call that's happening. Something is wooing you to that deeper, closer experience of oneness. When we make a commitment like that, an everyday commitment, something changes. It's also good to see how the everyday commitment adds up, you know? Have you ever sat down reading a book? I like to read a book. I read all the time. I guess that's a silly sentence. I like to read a book. When I read, I like the progress of finishing a chapter and making a decision. Is it time to put the book down now, or do I really want to dive in? Whether I'm reading fiction or great spiritual authors, I like the way that you realize over time you're going to be done with that book, and that there'll be something else that invites me on a new road to discovery. I liked in the studying the Course in Miracles, I loved that the workbook lessons were designed to be a lesson a day, and you just do one lesson every day. And if you skip a day, you just pick up the next time exactly where you left off. It took me 1.5 years to get through those lessons, but it was so great, and you can look and you can see what you've accomplished. And when I was thinking about all of this, I kept thinking about you, Reverend Clyde. I was thinking about how a while back he said to us, well, I'm going to be starting a Wednesday night group, and we're going to read the Science of Mind textbook, and we're going to read, you must have done the math on it already. He said, we're going to read 2.5 pages a day, just once a week. We're going to do that. It's going to take us 3.5 years to get through that book. Do you remember that? Do you remember when Reverend Clyde used to say that all the time? Guess what? You are almost done, aren't you? Almost done with something that has it been a 5-year project? Well done, Reverend Clyde. You see what happens? And there are a group of people that have been in that group from the start of it, and then people that have added. A lot of people dived in and out because we went to Zoom when the lockdown happened. But it shows that anything is possible if you just take it a little bite at a time, if you just do it one day at a time, as they say sometimes. So we have these great examples, and it ends up being a way we can measure our progress. Now, the founder of this teaching, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who said, I want you to read it. Yeah. Yeah.
Declare daily.
Declare daily.
Nothing but the true.
Just stop right there. Declare daily nothing but the true answer. Let's just keep it that short. Thank you. Declare daily. This is a man who declared daily lots of things, and he was devoted his life to living in this daily process, in the everydayness of spiritual endeavors, of putting effort and being conscious of making, of spiritually progressing and deepening in his own life. And in the Science of Mind textbook, I have been collecting, years ago I made a reprint with about 5 times where he said, every day, daily, the student should do this or that. And so I started making this list, and when I realized I was going to be giving this talk, I went, you need to have my special list of everyday statements from Dr. Ernest Holmes just in the Science of Mind textbook. And by the way, these are only 23. Mark my word, I bet I could find 200 times where he made some reference to something we should do every day. I have a stack of them up here. Reverend Clyde is going to have a stack of them in the back. So look for Reverend Clyde. Come up here and get it from me. And I also put a stack of them over there on the prayer altar in that corner. You want these 23 statements. It's free. You'll get it for free. I typed. In fact, you can help me find typos. You'll be my proofreaders because I just did it this week. You want this, because these are words of wisdom from the man that founded this teaching. And this is the way he lived his life. And he was an extraordinary example of what's possible. So you want to get that list. But in addition to Dr. Holmes, many great sages and spiritual teachers and gurus and teachers and teachings, religious traditions have the same recommendation. There is this almost an urgency, and there's something that happens in the repetition of our routine that then helps things sink in. It's like we get saturated with that divinity by doing something day after day after day. I found this quote that comes from a man named White Eagle. You've perhaps heard of him. There are books published. He was the chief of the Ponca tribe, and the Ponca tribe was a tribe in the Nebraska plains. And he's quite popular because it's native knowledge. We know it's not intellectual, but listen to this quote that's been recorded. And by the way, he was alive in the late 1800s, around the same time as Dr. Holmes. He said this: spiritual growth results from absorbing and digesting truth and putting it into practice in our daily life. So this is from a completely different perspective. Spiritual growth results from absorbing and digesting truth, but it doesn't stop there. It goes perfectly with that Holmes quote at the very beginning. By putting it into practice in our daily life that's the spiritual endeavor. That's the action we can take. Now, famous, I was in a blog, a leadership blog that I follow, one of my favorite leadership guys that does very interesting posts, created an article on the creative routines of famous historical people. So the people included, these people were looked at and how they lived their lives as examples of famous creative people. And it was everybody from authors and composers and inventors and scientists and politicians. And it included people like Mozart and Freud and Charles Darwin and Charles Dickens, and Beethoven was on the list, and just a whole bunch of people. And what they did was they looked at the journals. They were able to pull information from these great thinkers, from their personal journals, their notebooks, and the letters they wrote to other people, where they were sharing these intimate facts about their own lives. And so they put together all this material, and they saw that there were some interesting patterns that they all shared. And first off, the most interesting thing was that none of them worked more than an 8-hour day. They were not workaholics, even though they might have been obsessed with their music or the play they were writing or the scientific whatever they were dabbling in. They did not work more than 8 hours a day, and they slept less than 8 hours a day. And that was something they seemed to all have in common. Another thing they all did was they had daily exercise or movement in one way or another, incorporated in a scheduled way into their daily routines. And most of them, additionally, had social time scheduled. Imagine that. What if we scheduled time with our loved ones in a way that was our routine? You know, not like you have to look in your day book to remember you made an appointment to have lunch with your kid, right? But like in a regular routine way, you know you're going to sit down with friends, with family, or in other social circles because they knew that was important. And that might just be having dinner with the family, which is, you know, not common anymore. Each of these great people, these creative people, what they did, what we noticed in all of them, was that they created a routine that was pleasing to them. They had every day was a pleasurable experience for them intentionally, because that's how they wanted it, and it wasn't based on how much work they produced in any given day. I would say that that it's sort of a remarkable thing that what they have in common is that they knew what was best for them, how they would enjoy life at the highest possible level based on the experience, and noticing their own routines and honoring that. So in other words, it's a really gorgeous, somebody did a chart where you can look at the hours of the day and you can see, you know, what time of the day did Mozart sleep or night, you know. And it's just really fun to look at if you're a junkie like I am for silly information. The night owls would know that they would do their best work late at night. Let me give you an example. The night owls would work late at night. The socialites and the politicians would make sure they had more time socializing with other people, and all of them would find ways to enjoy their life. But let me give you this example of Beethoven. This is so good. This is what each circle looked like. Beethoven went to bed at 10 p.m. and he woke up at approximately at 6 a.m. every day. And when he woke up, he made his own coffee because he didn't like the way anybody else made coffee, because he used 60 coffee beans per cup. And they say he literally would count out 60 beans. He would compose music from 6:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And promptly at 2, he would have dinner with wine. And after dinner, he would go out and take a very long, vigorous walk. For 2 to 3 hours, he would walk after his dinner. And he would carry with him, while he was walking, he always had a pencil in his pocket and folded up music sheets that were blank in case he heard something and he wanted to capture it musically and write it out while he was on his walk. He could capture the I don't even know how to say it. Can you help me? The melody, or, you know.
The idea, the thought of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he had and then after that, his walk would end at the tavern. He would end up at the tavern, and he would get the daily newspaper, and he would spend 2 hours gently perusing the paper and probably visiting with people that knew him, because he did it every day, and others may have done that too. And at the end of that, he would either go home for supper or he would have supper at the tavern, but he always had a beer with dinner, and he always smoked a pipe when he was done. And then he would head home and go to bed by 10 o'clock. These creatives had routines that they perfectly designed to be pleasing to themselves. So what they say from the results of the study is that creative individuals naturally gravitated to routines that nurtured that creativity. And I want to take that and allow us to look at that through the context of being spiritual-minded individuals. spiritual-minded individuals likewise would gravitate toward things that nurture spirituality. And we would be intentional in our spiritual endeavors and in our commitment. Listen to this quote that came from the study. Workaholism, we know, stifles creativity. And you know why? Because meaningful creative output requires meaningful downtime so that our thoughts can congeal and crystallize. So when you're too busy, take a break so that you put some space in your life, some space between your thoughts, and you give yourself that sacredness of being able to tap into thoughts and music or poetry or whatever your sweet imaginings are, that they can be greater than what you would do. We mingle with the thoughts of God. That's when we rise. So downtime, by the way, is more than just a little nap. So some of those great creative thinkers would take naps in the day, but not all of them. But it's more than a nap. It's about mixing solitude. If we didn't learn anything else, it tells us you have to mix your quiet time, your solitude, along with being with other people. Too much, you can't get lopsided in one way or another. It's the balance is so healthy for us. It's a combination of sitting still, but also being willing to exercise and do things where we're moving our bodies and stretching our bodies. Watch your pets in the morning. My dog, if I could stretch like that dog stretches, oh, she cracks me up. She just get on her back and she can just she's a little girl, and she can turn herself into a whole circle, and then she does it in the other direction. It's like they're telling us how wonderful it feels, and you can see that it's joyful for them. So it's about finding a balance in between all those things, but it is about honoring your own rhythm, because that's what all those great people seem to have been able to do. For everything, I think Scripture was spot on in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, where it says, for everything there is a season. And if I paraphrase that long passage, I would say, there's a time to be still and there's a time to dance. I think that kind of says it all. So successful creatives know this, and I would remind you that we have all, not necessarily by choice, but we have all become cultural creatives. And what that means is we're alive at a time where the cultures globally are shifting and radically changing. And we are called to be a part of what is now emerging on the planet. And we don't have a name for it yet. We don't have it all figured out. We have more questions than we do answers. Do you know that worldwide, but particularly in the United States and Europe, they are declaring that we are officially in a post-Christian era. It is a post-Christian era, which is sort of shocking. But the reason for that is that more and more Christians have come to this place where they recognize a yearning in their heart for spiritual living that is not necessarily religious. And you know what brings joy to my heart is this teaching came from that thinking, came from that opportunity to see church shouldn't shun people, right? This should be a place where anybody can come, and that there can be more universal messages, and that there doesn't have to be guilt and shame and the threat of the threat of burning in the torment of fiery hell forever and ever. And the people have responded. There are officially more people who claim not to be Christian, and it's the first time it's happened in the history of Christianity. So that's interesting. That's an interesting turn, and I think it will be very positive. I know it's scary for a lot of churches, but I don't think it has to be. I think what's happening is the churches and the ministers that are hanging in through these big changes are learning to speak spirituality in a different way. They're following the leaders that have been around that have been doing it long before now. So I wanted to end this morning with a quote from Arthur Brooks, who I have officially declared is my new favorite sociologist. Yeah, I knew that would turn you on, Julie. Officially declared that I love this person, and he has written some really incredible books. And I found this quote because I'm currently reading that book. I found this quote. It ties perfectly with the message and sort of sums everything up. He says, to practice faith requires time and effort. There's no getting around it because it competes with the constraints of time. To practice faith takes time, right? It's calling us to that spiritual commitment to the endeavor of it. And then he goes on to say, you can't contemplate the secrets of the universe in a couple of hours here and there. Even if you attend a worship service and you're in a Sunday morning setting where you've been there for 2 hours every week, and if you read and pray and meditate and you want to grow from that, then that's a commitment you make day by day. And it can grow in the framework of time itself. It adds up. It's cumulative. That's the greatest thing about spiritual truth. It's cumulative. You can't take a class and then not know what was covered in that class. It's like, I always compare it to the idea of college units, right? You take them forever through the rest of your life, and if you had bad grades in community college when you were 18, oh well, it's part of your permanent record. So spiritual truth is that way because it shifts our consciousness. We grow and we expand, and Holmes and other great thinkers would describe it as that upward bound spiral, forever and ever expanding. And then Brooks goes on to complete the quotation here. He says, any advanced practitioner of faith will spend as much time as possible in the same way that a fitness buff would go to the gym religiously, because that's what it takes to progress. But more than that, they do it because it's deeply gratifying. The world is changing. We're bringing forward, we're giving birth to a new culture, and we know fads and trends, they come and go. And what I believe the world needs now is spiritually committed individuals. This is a really fast-paced world we're living in, and the world needs that needs us to have spacious time out. We're busy humans. We need to be daily using and declaring affirmative truths daily. We want to pray. We want to contemplate these deeper thoughts, because a chaotic world needs spiritually grounded people more than anything. And a few great grounded people can do wonders for the rest of us. We can even take turns and hold each other up. I was thinking as I was looking at how to end this message, I had this thought, if we remember even a single thread of spiritual truth at least once a day, it is a great spiritual endeavor that benefits every living being on this planet. And that's what I wanted to say today. So just take a nice, deep, holy breath. Feel the breath of life just move through your entire being. Recognizing it is the inspiration from Spirit itself. It is the essence of creation that has kissed us into being so that we can walk confidently through our days, having faith that there is an intelligence that beats our heart and breathes our lungs, circulates our bodies in such a way that life is sustained in us and expressed through us. I feel the love of God within me right now. I feel it circulating in this room. I know it is the very essence of life as a force for good that is available to all of us. So no matter where we are in this moment, as these powerful words are spoken into the law, I know that we create that space of receiving. We allow ourselves to become vessels so that the ongoing givingness of God, the pouring out of the grace of God, streams into us as individuals, streams into this community as a collective, and it spreads and touches all living beings, because that is the nature of the spoken word of prayer. I feel the love of God, and I know that it is a contagion within me that passes easily to all of my loved ones. That activity of love within us sparkens something within that renews our awareness of the presence of God right where we are. So we sense that movement. We feel that shift unfolding, and we know that this is the healing agent of life. This is the way the universe keeps all things in perfect order at all times. So when we are experiencing that, any sense of chaos or illness or lack, we can know that it's just an experience, that this too shall pass, that there is something within us that desires a greater expression of fullness to be apparent on this planet, that desires to express through us. So we make way. We stand with our heads raised, and we're firm in our grounding of truth, for we know it is Spirit that supports us. It is God that sustains all life. It is creation that has called us to be creative agents in our own life. So this day, we align ourselves to Spirit, and we become co-creators for good in our own lives. And so I know we instigate this amazing flow of good. We allow ourselves to just attract that grace of God toward us. We fill up with it, and we allow it to be a healing essence that streams from us, so that we are a part of healing this beautiful planet. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit. For this is the reason we are here, to dedicate ourselves to spiritual endeavors that uplift our lives, that uplifts the lives of our loved ones, and indeed is a cleansing factor on this planet. Together we just let it be, and we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that
thank you, Bradford. So I passed out some of those handouts to some people on this side of the room because I was walking up this side. So we do have more. If you'd like some, please come up after service. I'll give you a copy of it. It's a beautiful practice. I have a very simple practice, and that's just looking, and it's actually one of your talks that you had a couple weeks ago about just looking and expecting to see good, right? To see love, see creativity, see abundance. It's an easy practice, and we can practice that every day. So, all right, so now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. Just a reminder that we are not passing around the offering plate, that we have drop boxes in the back of the room on the way to Pampke Hall and also out in the bookstore. We appreciate all your tithes and your donations that supports the church. Also want to remind you that we have a practitioner after service, so if you would want to pray with the practitioner, come up front here, and the practitioner is available for prayer. And then the last thing, if you want to come over and join us in Pampke Hall for snacks and goodies and coffee and fellowship, please join us for that. I think that's everything. All right, so let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing that again. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
Yes, it does. All right, so let's say a closing affirmation. Just repeat after me. My spiritual endeavor is having faith in God.
My spiritual endeavor is having faith in God
And knowing that I am always supported.
and knowing that I am always supported.
And so it is.